Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Antonia Josefin and I am from Sweden. That's why my English is not the best, maybe. And I am a student. I am studying humanities on a university here in Sweden and I am specializing in art. But I have also been studying philosophy, history and literature. And I wanted to share with you something here. I wanted to share with you my life, but not only my life. I wanted to share with you a magical experience that I have had. And I would actually call it an awakening. I wanted to share with you my awakening story and how it kind of changed my life. And where I'm standing today and where I am going. So 2016 I moved out and it was the year kind of where I really became independent. I could let go of my family and my background and the school and the hometown that I was living in. I could kind of be free for the first time in my life, and I decided to travel to Germany because I have my family is from Germany, so I have German blood kind of. And I decided to travel to Germany. And it was a really, really amazing experience because it was the first time that I could kind of get in contact with myself and just explore everything without everybody else's opinion or thoughts and everything. I could kind of be free and I did explore so much and so many things. And right then on this travel I did come in contact with something divine. I would not say that I was awakened on this travel, but I was in contact with something that was much bigger. And I can remember when I was on a walk and it was like I was feeling this presence of God or of this divine power. It was really just making me feel so safe. It was like talking to me and telling me that everything was okay, kind of, or yeah, it was just this experience. It's not like something you really can describe with word, but it's something that just fulfills you from the inside. And you feel that you are a part of the whole, kind of. And that was my first experience like this, where I really noticed this holistic, cosmic appearance. After that, I started to study folk music in Sweden, in the Dales or Dalarna, and I came in contact with history and I came in contact with a different view of life that I hadn't had grown up with. I started to meet all these people that lived an alternative life, and I had always been this alternative person inside of me. My authentic self is like quite drawn to this alternative side. And I kind of just met all these people from different countries, and the folk music, it was so different from what I had experienced before in my life. And I came to learn more about the earth that we are standing on. I came to learn more about the history of Sweden and the history of all the places, but the history of the earth that we are standing on, and the old traditions, because how they celebrated Lucia and Christmas and so was more close to these old traditions than it was to this modern tradition we have in Sweden these days. And for me it was just so magical to learn to dance folk music and to dance folk dance, and to do folk music and so on, and to get to know all of these people. And I got to know some people from Wales and Ireland that really influenced my view of life, actually, because they kind of really open up that there are people that are living this alternative life and that are so super warm and kind-hearted, because in my life before I hadn't met people like this. I knew that they existed and I knew that I was like them, but I hadn't really came in contact with them. Yes. So it was really a really eye-opening thing to me, actually, to see that there are people that are living an alternative life that is not about living in a house maybe, or living accordingly to the standards of the world. Yes, and after I did the folk music course, I moved to this little island in Sweden that is called Visingsö, and that is a really historical and special island, actually, because they are filled with ruins and graveyards, and it has this big history with a duke from Sweden and much more. And it was actually ghosts on the island, you know. And it was really interesting, and all of these things have kind of opened up to me more, because on this island there was also a temple, and this temple was a new created temple, but before this temple was raised or built on this island, there was actually a woman that built a temple, and she was a theosophist, and it was so interesting to read about these papers and news papers and so on, and the articles about her that is said witch, or I don't know really, but I think it was like witch or scientist or something like that. And it was so interesting, actually, to hear and to read that. And then they had this newspaper, old newspaper from her time, that said Lucifer. And I mean, it's so interesting because you can read all of this and then you know it's something really connected to the devil, kind of. And it makes you question things, kind of. So it was really a really interesting experience. And after I lived on this island where I was studying English, I moved to Brighton in England. And maybe you think I should speak a little bit better English, but right now, because I have been studying Swedish and only been surrounded by Swedish people and Swedish talking people, it is not like as fluent. Anyway, so I moved to Brighton and it was the most amazing experience ever. I didn't have much money and I was studying there and so on, but at the same time, sometimes living with less is more liberating than living with much and being stuck. So it was really amazing to just be so dependent on people around you, be so intimate and close with the friends that you are studying with and people that you are meeting. And I was dating quite a lot actually there, and I met really interesting people. So I'm really happy I explored that and got in contact with so many wonderful people actually. And after Brighton, I was actually in Brighton, or when I lived in England, I did travel to Ireland on my own to volunteer work, to do some gardening on not a farm, but a sustainable household place in Wicklow, is it right? I don't know. So I went there, and it was really nice actually, and also I'm so proud that I did it on myself. And once again I had this experience that I had in Germany before. I sat on the valleys or the hills there, because the cottage, it was a cottage, so it was quite high up on the valley or the hill. And I sat there one afternoon, and I just felt how the surrounding was so magical actually, and how I once again had this strong contact with this divine appearance. And I mean, I had felt it all the time, but these 2 times were like super, super, super special, because it's like this ecstasy, right? Or no, euphoria, yeah, you know. When you just feel that you are one with something bigger. Anyway, so I went to Ireland, and I went to Scotland for a while, to Edinburgh, with some friends. And after that I was actually meant to stay in England and do some au pair working, but I felt so depressed when all of my friends were leaving me, and I didn't think I would feel this depressed actually, but I did, and I decided to move back home. So I moved to this other island in Sweden to work on a restaurant on the island Öland. And it was also once again this magical journey, because I was working and I met interesting people, and first I was living in this collective with all the other people that were working, but it was not that good, because I needed to share a room with two other people, 2 other girls, and I needed to live out of my suitcase, and I was quite tired of that, because I had done it for so long, since I just came back from England and so on. So I decided to move in with a person, and it was quite nice actually to do that, but at the same time I didn't really like the person, but it was alright. I am happy I did it. And it was really interesting, because once again I explored this other little island that we have in Sweden, that is between the mainland and the island that I lived on. There's a little island in between, which is called Blå Jungfrun or Blåkulla, and according to the myths, yeah, the history, or yeah, the legend, yeah, it is the island where the witches are going on Easter. So it's really interesting, and I did explore that island because you could see it from this island. So in the middle of the night I was with my friend swimming in the sea, and it was full moon, and then we continued with the car and we passed by this island and watched it from this Öland island, and it was really magical actually, and it was such a beautiful place to live. So I'm super happy about that. But after that I started to study, and I started to study to become a teacher. And I moved to a different place, of course. But it wasn't easy for me there actually, because I had all of these great experience and I was really connected to people, to other beautiful people and places. And suddenly it was like all of this was taking away from me. And it was taken away from me, and I didn't have anybody anymore. And the hard thing was that people weren't open to connect with me anymore in this new student place. So I tried super hard kind of to fit in because I felt so lonely. But nobody really wanted to connect with me. And then also I just felt so much panic because I couldn't see myself working as a teacher the rest of my life. So I had this super big breakdown because I had all of the feelings from my travels inside of me, at the same time as I had this feeling of being that is ripped apart, ripped away from me. And at the same time nobody did really understand my feeling or what I had been going through. And in this new place nobody was really interested in my company and becoming friends. And it was really hard kind of, because everybody had already their life. Everybody had already a good life. They didn't need anything more, you know. And for me, I can just remember I had my first exam or testament. I don't know what it's called. My home testament exam. Yeah. Essay. I don't know. And I can just remember how my whole body just became I couldn't move, and my whole body was hurting. I couldn't write. It was like I couldn't do anything, and I lied down in my bed and I just felt that my body was giving up kind of. And I was so heartbroken, and inside of me it was like I had this super big scar actually. And after that I decided I can't do this anymore. So I jumped off this my studies, and I didn't know what to do because my family didn't support my choice really. But something happened, and the thing that happened was that I started to connect with my authentic self more. And suddenly something happened that never had happened before. Or it had been happened, but not in this level, kind of. And it was that I started to wake up, kind of. It was my awakening happening right then, yeah. So I started to see the world as with the eyes of a child, kind of. And I started to feel that I could see my purpose in life. I started to see that everything was connected, and I started to see all this, how everything was like a micro and a micro cosmos. How everything was, all the small things were like the big things. I could see how fruits and trees were very similar to the human being, and how everything like science and nature, how everything worked. I could understand the history of math and our civilization. I could see where we were coming from. I could see how everything was connected. And that was so magical. And I decided to begin with, after my studies, I decided to come with my family to Germany. And it was the most awful thing I have ever done, and ever since then I haven't come with my family to Germany because I said, or I thought that, or I decided that I will never more put myself into this awful people actually that are my relevance. So I went to Germany and I had all of these good experience, and I knew that I had not come along with my relevance before, but I thought that maybe I could just put that aside and be distant with them. So I can just, if I start everything good, if I am polite and so on, everything will be fine. And it started okay, but I always got these critics, but slowly it started to become like it has been my whole entire growth when I was with my relevance. So I started to experience all of these negative behaviors from them again. So they were always wanting me to do things every time I did my own things or relaxed or just was. They were saying my name, and they wanted me to work and work and work and do all of these things, and yeah, really narcissistic behavior. And I became really heartbroken actually. And the last thing that happened before I leave my relevance was that I got the comment, because I thought like this. I thought if I started and ended good, or I thought if I started and I am polite, it will be good. And then I thought, okay, I have been going through all of this, and okay, if I just end it okay, it will not be as dramatic as it has been. So I thought I'd do that, and I did it. And the last comment I got was, Antonia, finally do something with your life. Like a really evil comment. And I was so fucking heartbroken actually, because all the experience had been so harsh on me. I haven't gone in details, but yeah, it was really hard actually. And the same thing happened then when my relevants were calling me on my birthday. It was once again one of these really ugly comments. Antonia, you are worthless. Like always. So yeah. Oh, it was really hard actually to hear, also because they don't understand me. They have made up their view on me, and that's what they're living at. Yeah. Anyway, move forward. So I got this awakening, and I decided after I came back from Germany that I was gonna move out on the countryside in our cottage, my family's cottage, and I did so. And I started to work as a substitute teacher. And it was nice. It was a little bit too much for me. I mean, it was a really good job, but it was not the job I wanted, and it was also quite exhausting with all the children, because children are not always the nicest, and I needed to remember a whole school's, the name of all the children on the one school and on all the schools that I went to. So it was quite a lot actually. And also just never knowing when you're gonna work and when you're not gonna work, and also it's quite stressful actually, because you don't have the time to prepare everything, and then the children become evil or mean, I mean, and so on. I don't know, it was not really for me.